All right. Let's see. Is anyone actually in here yet?
And they do.
All right, guys. So, I doubt I'm going to get many viewers on this, but tomorrow, if you guys haven't seen already, is one of the biggest days in terms of where the A's relocation is because, tomorrow the updated term sheet will be released. So tomorrow could actually be, the kind of deciding factor on whether or not the A's are stay or not, right? So I kind of thought, it's it's been not even 24 hours until the term sheet is going to be released. So if you guys just have any questions or just want to talk about it in the comment live chat, that would be easier to answer because my relocation videos, I can only reply so much to a comment, and I feel like I could give a more thorough response. But yeah, basically, for those of you that don't know, basically Oakland and the A's each have specific agreements that they want to kind of share with each other. Oakland's already done it. The A's are doing their updated one tomorrow. So we're going to kind of see if there's any middle ground with the whole situation. So right now, it's just we don't know what the A's are going to say. If they could completely say, we're not going to do affordable housing and tomorrow, and that would completely destroy the entire plan. So I think it's honestly really just comes down to tomorrow, and I think watching Brody Brazil earlier, I completely agree that tomorrow is almost more important than July 20th because July 20th, is the vote, but council members will have biases when it comes to the ultimate vote because if there's a plan that they don't agree with, then what would be the point of voting yes? Hey, what's up, Untouchable Raider? So yeah, that's a good question. So where do I think the A's are going to go? So for now, I think the two cities I would narrow the relocation to or staying obviously would be Oakland and Las Vegas. Because if you think about it, what other place would be viable in terms of Las Vegas? And when I say viable, I don't mean what place would accept a team because I think there's probably 25 cities across the US and even in Canada that would accept a team. But I mean a city that is ready for a ballpark. I think Las Vegas is, but with that being said, I don't think they necessarily deserve it, nor would it do well. So I think, it really comes down to tomorrow. I don't know if you're here. The person who asked this question, I don't know if you're here earlier when I said it, but I think tomorrow we're really going to have the roadmap of what's coming forward. But for now, I think it's either Las Vegas or Oakland. I think I've heard talks about six different cities that are in the talks for it. But I think Las Vegas and Oakland are the last two because it really comes down to the term sheet, the agreements, negotiations, financing, all these different things. But I mean, if I had to be completely real with you, I think it's Oakland or Vegas or nothing. Yeah, so that's a good question. But at the end of the day, I think Oakland has a better plan. I don't think Las Vegas. Where are the Las Vegas stadium renderings? We haven't seen any of that yet. They talk all the time about it, but we don't actually see it visually. And another thing is like, Oakland, although the politics are bad and some of the laws aren't in the A's favor, like, for example, affordable housing, which for the record, they should be doing anyways. But let's play devil's advocate, even if, the A's don't agree with it. I mean, Las Vegas, how is that going to be any better there? Because it's just, land in the desert. It's not prime real estate. The property value, I can't imagine is higher than Oakland. And I mean, although the stadium would probably be cheaper, I mean, I just don't really understand the logic of Vegas. Yeah, I mean, the thing with Oakland, Untouchable Raider, is like, the city has nice parts, like where the Howard Terminal area is like, that's a great area. That's why they're trying to build it there. Like, that's another part. Like Las Vegas, do they have a waterfront? No, of course not. It's up McKinstry. But yeah, Oakland's government is horrible in terms of property value. Oakland has great property value for a stadium. I mean, the Coliseum, although I don't love going to the Coliseum for games because it's not the best area, to say the least. And if you've been to an A's game, you probably agree. Although it's not the greatest area, the real estate is there, right? Because it's right off the freeway, and it's so big. There was two stadiums at one point that supported three teams. But the Oakland government just doesn't really have priorities straight. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, I do talk about that, but a little bit. But the thing is like Oakland doesn't have their priorities straight. Right now, some of the Oakland City Council members are trying to promote a WNBA franchise to come to Oakland. And my thought is like, okay, you lost two teams already. You're on the verge of losing a third one. Why are you talking about bringing a non-existent WNBA team, a much smaller, less profitable league to Oakland when, for the record, is not half as big as, not even close to half as big as what MLB brings to Oakland? And I just think, they don't have their priorities straight. So I do agree with you. They suck city-wise, but I think property value, Oakland is a lot better than Vegas, because, Las Vegas, like I mentioned, they don't even have a waterfront. They don't have it's desert. It's cheaper land probably. I mean, the Raiders probably saved a lot of money by moving there. But the thing is like, for the long run, like, would they really want to do that? And also, the A's are all about making money. Like, they don't spend it, so they make a profit every year. So they would make more money at Howard Terminal than they would the Coliseum. And my like kind of response to that is, if you're going to be making money every single year, and you're going to make it in Oakland and Las Vegas, why not just stay in Oakland and let the money rise up? Because the thing is like, John Fisher just cares about making a profit, right? A's owner. So I just think staying in Oakland for the long term would be a lot smarter. I mean, yeah, maybe moving to Vegas would have a big, rise in popularity in the area if it happens. But thing is like, it's never going to be the same as Howard Terminal, right? Like, if Howard Terminal happens, it's going to be crazy. Giants fans are gonna line up to kind of Giants fans that are kind of casual fans will probably question, oh, do I go to an A's game or Giants game? Because the A's stadium will be in par with the stadium, because it's going to be a great stadium. I mean, you've seen the renderings before. It's on the water. It's just, I don't really see why they would leave Oakland, other than the fact that Oakland kind of has some bad politics. So yeah. Yo, what's up, Jack? How's it going, man? Yeah, I'm looking at some comments right now. A lot of people are just, saying they won't move. I'm getting a lot of mixed, signals. That's why I can't really say a clear answer. Are the A's going to move? Are the A's going to stay? That's the thing. I can't give you a clear answer on whether or not they are or are they not. But the thing I can say is, staying in Oakland is a lot better financially. And I think, I just don't really understand why moving to Vegas. The stadium, it would be nice probably. It's just not, there's problems with Allegiant Stadium right now, because parking is impossible there. And being said, obviously parking at Howard Terminal wouldn't be ideal, but parking at the Coliseum has always been great. I don't really understand why they kind of moved away from the Coliseum. I know Howard Terminal's, the renderings are awesome, the water, just the way the stadium looks, but the Coliseum, I said earlier, is prime real estate. I mean, Oracle Arena has been there. The Coliseum, it's a success, that land area. The fact that it's right off the freeway, I mean, you can come from any part of Oakland and it'll take you 15 minutes to get there, maybe even less. And, with traffic, it's still not even that bad. Las Vegas, there's traffic all the time. And that's a problem with the Raiders' new stadium, Allegiant Stadium, because people are having to walk these long distances in the desert, and it's not really succeeding, So I just think Las Vegas, not really good for the long term, maybe for the short term. Hey, what's up, Sam? What's up, buddy? But yeah, I think, the thing is also is like, yeah, Oakland's politics could interfere with it. But once the A's have a stadium, right, they don't have to worry about this anymore. That's the thing. It's like the A's are just set once they get this stadium, or if/when they get this stadium. And the thing in Las Vegas is like, I don't know how long of a shelf life they're going to have there, because I just don't really understand the logic of moving to it. Isn't popular, or never has been popular there. I mean, granted, I don't live in Las Vegas, but I've heard no support groups or seen any for move the A's to Las Vegas. I've seen when the Raiders were moving there, I did see things like, oh, move the Raiders to Vegas. We want the Raiders. But with the A's, like, I do not see anything in Vegas that is like move the A's to Vegas. I've seen, review journals and stuff like that kind of flirting with the idea of it, but nothing really supporting. But there's tons of support for the A's to stay in Oakland, which is why I think for the long term it's way better. But yeah, I just don't really understand, why they would move there. If they do move there, I think they're going to regret it, because the thing is like I've said earlier, the real estate in Vegas is not very high value. The Raiders Stadium, is different, because the Raiders Stadium is right where everything is going on, right? If the A's move to Vegas, they're going to play in Henderson or some suburb in Henderson, which, completely honest, I don't even know how that's going to do. I don't really understand the logic of that. And they also stated that they wanted to play in a minor league stadium, the home of the Aviators, which I think is just an asinine idea, because I mean, the A's are selling a decent amount of tickets right now. Like, the Oakland Coliseum is one of the biggest in baseball. So it's easy to say, oh, the A's get no attendance because it looks like on TV and at games there's less people. Actually, are a decent amount of people going to A's games. But the fact of the matter is like, they play in Vegas at the Las Vegas Stadium, Aviator Stadium, for 2 years. That stadium only holds 10,000 people. So yeah, I just don't really understand that. Alexis, what about San Jose? That's actually a good thing you brought up. San Jose A's will likely never happen. The Giants have territorial rights in San Jose, so that would never happen, because the A's tried to move to San Jose in the early 2010s and it was blocked. It was actually very close to happening, but it was blocked. That's why the A's probably would never be able to move to Sacramento, because the Giants have minor league there and there's territorial rights. Stockton, there's other areas. So San Jose is completely off the table. You have low A ball there for the Giants. So, I think it's honestly probably off the table. But I mean, I think, could San Jose ever get a baseball team? Probably not. But if the A's move, I don't see why the Bay Area wouldn't be a market. I just don't understand teams moving out of the Bay Area, because the Bay Area is such a big market. So yeah, that's my question is no, San Jose will not happen for the A's, at least unless the Giants were to move somewhere else. But I don't think that's ever going to happen either. Hey, what's up, Canna? Can I do a room tour? Yeah, sure, kind of. So there's the hats over there, and my jerseys are over there. But yeah, Montreal, that's another good point. But I just don't think that's profitable, because Canada is such a smaller market than the United States. They have 10% of the United States population. So I don't think I think they've talked about moving to Canada. I don't think Canada is going to work, because it's such a smaller, fan base environment. It's such a smaller market. People say, oh, the A's are a small market team, which is true. They are a small market, but the fact of the matter is they play in Oakland, which is in the Bay Area, which is in Northern California, which is a huge market. Why do the Niners get, good following? Why do the Giants? Why do the Warriors, even the Sharks? It's because of the location, right? The A's just have a great situation playing in Oakland in terms of marketing and value. In terms of stadium, no, they don't have a good stadium, but that can change, as shown with Howard Terminal. So I think, if Howard Terminal were to happen, I think, the A's value would go up even more, which is ultimately what the ownership wants. So I don't see why they don't stay in Oakland. That's what I mean. Why by saying moving to Las Vegas would just not be very smart, because the value of the A's is just not going to be very high, especially, looking at merchandising and all these little niche type of things. Because, if the A's move to Canada, that's also, I don't think baseball is going to be happy with that either, especially eastern part of Canada, which would be Montreal, because, they'd have to realign the divisions. Traveling would be so much harder. So, yeah, I agree. Las Vegas wouldn't make sense. I said that exact same thing about the Raiders, and I mean, I think the football is different because football, there's 16 games a year, there's 8 home games a year, and so I think it's a lot easier for fans to be nomadic, and I think Raider fans are already nomadic. There's Raider fans in Europe, there's Raider fans in Mexico, there's Raider fans in Southern California, Northern California, kind of spread out all across the United States, right? The A's have fans, but the A's have fans more so in the East Bay and little pockets of California. Yeah, LV would not work. Yeah, I'm optimistic, man. I think it probably will happen, but I can't jump to conclusions. Let's see. So I'm an A's fan. MLB wants a team in Vegas. Sports gambling is getting popular. Yeah. Well, okay. The thing is like, yeah, gambling is big, but gambling isn't going to make as much money ultimately as Howard Terminal, like a $12 billion stadium. Gambling is, people can gamble watching sports anyways. It's like I don't think the gambling argument is very a good one, because the thing is like, like I don't really think sports are necessarily correlated with it. I think there is sports betting, but I don't think the A's moving to Vegas will change any of that. MLB has a team in Canada right now, Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah, I think the Blue Jays work, but you have to remember, why does the NFL have no teams in Canada? Why does basketball only have one? And why does MLB only have one? Because Canada, the big urban metropolitan cities of Canada, like Toronto, like maybe Montreal, they will support a team. But if you spread them all around, it just complicates way too many things, especially considering Toronto. Yeah, it's Toronto's Canada, but it's hardly above the border. Toronto is very close to Buffalo. Buffalo's in New York. I don't think, Montreal is way up north. And so I don't really think that would work. And also, it's really, really cold up there. Baseball, I guess you could build a roof, but baseball, is mostly in warmer cities. Based on, you look at the map of baseball teams. I mean, there are some in colder cities as well, but I think, there's solutions to that. I don't really think Montreal would work because, like I said, Toronto is very close to the border. Montreal isn't. So yeah, I Mexico, I don't think that would work either. I've heard talks about that. I think it would be kind of cool, but I don't think so with the currency and stuff like that. Do you think the Oakland roots? So I mean, I'm assuming you're referring to the soccer team. I think, yeah, they'll probably stay in Oakland because they've only been here 3 years or so, and I think they're kind of an afterthought. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I never really see people cheering for the Roots, stuff like that. I don't really think the Roots are very engraved into Oakland sports, but I think, yeah, they'll probably stay. I mean, I don't know where they're going to play. Maybe the Coliseum. I don't know. What's up, Celtics today? What's up, Chapman? What's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. But yeah, I don't really think the Roots are a big concern right now. Yeah, most stores in Mexico do take American currency. I do agree with that. But the thing is like, I just don't really think that would really work because, people talk about all the time, oh, the Seattle Mariners going to Miami is so hard. Think about the Toronto Blue Jays going to Mexico, how hard that's going to be to travel there. And also, you have a lot of Southern teams close to the border, which I think already have pretty good popularity. Like the Padres, the Dodgers have a huge area of that market. I don't really think you could put a team anywhere in that area. So anymore, at least. Yeah, the Roots, I mean, to be completely honest, I don't really think the Roots are super, like liked that much because I think, the Roots are just kind of an afterthought a little bit. They're a USL team, and that's cool. But I mean, I think the Earthquakes are a lot more popular, and I don't really think the Roots are ever going to make the MLS anytime soon. And if they're still playing in Oakland, because Sacramento has a team and San Jose has a team, so I don't really think that's going to work. But yeah, and also Fletcher, back to your comment with the American currency. Yeah, stores take American currency, but I mean, when it comes to big payments, that won't really work. And so, because if they were to build a stadium there, they would have to pay, probably land developers, stuff like that in Mexico, which could be up to billions of dollars. So I don't really think that would be viable. I don't think the A's, I mean, unless they move to Canada, which would be a long shot, I don't think they're moving out of the United States. I don't think baseball's willing to expand yet. And out of that area, out of this region. I mean, I've heard Montreal. I think Montreal is a pretty diehard sports city. But I just don't really understand why they would do that at this moment. I've heard the Tampa Bay Rays are already interested in that, which is definitely another completely other discussion, because the Rays have a completely other situation going on. Oakland is kind of similar when it comes to their government, but I mean, Oakland isn't Tampa, right? So I think the thing is like, you got to be optimistic with it. You got to just, yeah, yeah. The Oakland Roots. Well, actually, Vegas, how the Roots just played the Las Vegas team. Vegas has a USL team as well, called the Las Vegas Lights. But yeah, the Roots actually just played them, ironically. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, exactly. They already have the Las Vegas Lights, but I don't really like. I make the Roots videos, but I don't really watch them all too much. I don't know much about them, just because it's soccer. I'm not really a big soccer fan. I never have. I probably never will. I just kind of follow the economics of it, like the Earthquakes, kind of how they fit into Northern California sports, stuff like that. And I think Sacramento having a team in MLS is pretty cool. Just considering, they're a pretty diehard sports city too when it comes to Sacramento Kings, when it comes to, the history of it. So yeah. And, I get asked all the time, actually, if you guys want to, if you haven't seen it already, I made a frequently asked questions video about, what you could take from my opinion as an A's fan, who is supporting an Oakland A's team, not a Las Vegas team. You could go check. So, yeah, I think, okay. Okay. Would you root for the A's if they magically moved to Sacramento? So, Sacramento, that's actually a good one. I would still root for them. I actually love the city of Sacramento. I think it's a great city. I go to Kings games frequently when the season's around. So the thing is like, Sacramento A's probably would never happen, just because, for one, they have a very popular minor league team there. And I know it's funny saying very popular minor league team, because I know the minor league is kind of second tier. But they have a AAA team, the River Cats, that are very popular, and they happen to be the Giants affiliate. Also, I think there's a lot bigger cities, even though Sacramento is a bigger market than Las Vegas, that would probably want it first. But yeah, I'd still be a fan. Okay, let's get to these one at a time. So, yeah, we need a pitcher for the deadline. I agree. Would you support Sacramento if Warriors were to change state? Oh, of course. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the Warriors are never going to move out of the Bay Area, because they just do so well here. They're the most popular team in the Bay Area, by far. Actually, I don't know how much farther they are than some of the other teams, but yeah, I'd be a Sacramento Kings fan. This is actually a good question. Is there a lot of Oakland fans in Las Vegas if they move? No, that's the problem. I have heard no move the A's to Las Vegas, support groups. I have heard nothing in favor from actually Las Vegas residents. You got to remember, Las Vegas is a pretty tourist city, right? So like, a lot of like the people that would be going to the games would be like people on vacation. And I think that's how it is with the Raiders, because the Raiders place eight times a year there, opposed to 81 times a year, as the A's would. So, I don't really think the A's would draw. Who's going to go to 100-degree weather game on a Wednesday night against the Detroit Tigers. Like, who's going to go to that? But yeah, the Warriors, yeah, they're not going to move anytime soon. What if the Sharks were to move? Who would you support? Once again, the Sharks aren't going to go anywhere, but if they were to move, geez, that's a tough one. I mean, you'd better believe that the Bay Area would get a replacement team, just because of the big market. I don't know. I'd probably stop watching hockey because I'm not that big of a fan of it to the point where I'd have to root for a new team. Appreciate it, Don. I'm just trying to, share my opinions. Will I ever consider moving to Las Vegas? No, I probably won't ever because it's too hot. But yeah, 100-degree game on a Wednesday night against the Detroit Tigers. Yeah, exactly. Who's going to go to that in Las Vegas? I mean, hardly anyone goes to that in Oakland, with all due respect to the Coliseum. They don't draw that much on a Wednesday night. I went to a couple weekday games where there was only like 4,000 people there because, it would be a retractable roof stadium. That's what I've heard. But the problem is there's no renderings yet for the Las Vegas stadium, right? So we don't really know what a stadium in Vegas is like because they're so behind on it. Like, that's why I don't understand the hype about the Las Vegas A's proposal, because the A's have a beautiful rendering. Renderings cost sometimes millions of dollars to create, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on how good they are. The A's renderings are beautiful for Howard Terminal. So I don't really understand why they are just even bringing up this idea. I think it's honestly just to put pressure on it. But I mean, Manfred said it isn't. He said it isn't a bluff. That was like yesterday, but it definitely is, because I mean, why would they ditch this idea that they put millions of dollars into for something that doesn't exist? So yeah, the question is, I just don't really know. I don't really know if it would be indoor or outdoor, but I think there would have to be some sort of way to make it more, I guess, attained to fans. But yeah, because, no one wants to sit in like a game where you're going to get heat stroke. So, hey, what's up, Hatstros? Yeah, we're closing in on 30 minutes. Probably do this a little bit longer. Yeah, Las Vegas A's versus Arizona Diamondbacks. That would be like the lowest rated World Series ever, because, I mean, two very low market teams in a World Series. I mean, you talk about this year's NBA Finals, the Suns versus the Bucks. Like, talk about, low market. I mean, I don't think small market is that big of a thing in the NBA, but ratings wise, it's lower than Lakers Nets, right? Okay, if the A's move, like, they'll always still be the Oakland A's to me. Like, it's the same thing with the Raiders. Like, they're always going to be the Oakland Raiders to me, because I think the thing is like, I tell people this all the time. It's like, people ask me, why do you still like the Raiders? And my question is it's because Oakland, for the time being, is still a sports city, right? So the thing is like, me liking the Raiders is validated because, they still sell merchandise that says Oakland, right? And Oakland still has a team, thus connecting the A's and Raiders, right? So, they'll always be the Oakland Raiders to me, but if the A's move, Oakland's no longer a sports city. Yeah. Why do you think Oakland doesn't want to keep their baseball team? Because they don't want to see a billionaire type marketing campaign thing succeed. They don't want to see that succeed. They just want to, they're out for themselves. So I don't really understand why they're kind of ignoring it, because fans are the most important thing in sports when it comes to money, because fans are the ones buying the merchandise. Fans are the ones going to games. But Oakland doesn't realize that. Oakland thinks, the A's are just out for money, which is partially true, but I don't think true enough to kick them out of their own city, even though they're the ones with the motive to move. Yeah, I agree. The NBA Finals have been great, but I mean, like, Milwaukee and Phoenix are a lot smaller city sample sizes than like LA and New York. Yeah, with the Raiders thing, like, I've been debating it, like, not really recently, but if the A's were to move, the reason why I'd be switching both is because, why would I support two teams I can never see? I dislike the Golden Knights, and I just don't understand the logic in supporting two teams that I can't ever go to a game. Now, with the Raiders right now, I support them still because, it's just more convenient to stay as a fan when you have another team in your city, but that's just not how it would be. Um, yeah, if okay, that's another good question. Why do you think they can't stay at the Coliseum? The thing is, they can stay at the Coliseum. No one's saying, "Oh, you can't." It's the thing is like they're just kind of trying to get a conclusion because the problem is like if they bring up the Coliseum option, then Oakland will be like, okay, you have to go to the Coliseum. So if they only bring up one, then I guess they'll have a foregone conclusion a lot quicker. But the Coliseum, I think, is better land to be on than Howard Terminal just because the affordable housing issue is non-existent. It's so much easier to get to, and they already own part of it. Have I ever met CRB in real life? No, I haven't. Um, I don't really care about markets when watching sports. I care about how good, entertaining. Yeah, I agree. I guess the only thing I care about is like, how teams spend money, the finance. Because I love seeing the A's do well. Like they have been in recent years. Like they made the playoffs a lot, right? But the thing is like, have the A's won a World Series? No. Have they come close to a World Series? Yes. Um, but you have to also answer the question, why have the A's not been to a World Series in, 30, 31 years? Because they don't spend money on players. I care about spending money on players. I don't care about watching other teams' markets. That I'm okay with. They propose that if the A's move to Las Vegas, they should change their name to Las Vegas A's. I've actually heard about that, honestly. 20 years ago, I was dead set against the person. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I honestly, with hindsight, like the A's in San Jose, I would have much rather had than Las Vegas, but we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, I saw Jock Peterson was traded to the Braves. I did not really expect that. Where did I get this hat? I got this hat from eBay. So they have a lot of different hats. They actually have this on Fanatics right now too. So if you want to go check it out, they have like I want to say at least half the teams with the upside down logo. So if you want to go look for that, you can do so yourself. But I just I've kind of been putting a pause on merchandise. I've been editing a merchandise video for like the past couple of days, and it's about half an hour long. But for like the past, I want to say 2 weeks or so, I haven't been buying any A's or Raiders stuff, even though, ironically, I have so much in the back. But it's just not something I can do right now. I can't risk the A's moving. And I actually got this, like, I bought this, I want to say about 2 weeks ago, and it came 2 days ago. So it took a little while to come. But yeah, I'd much rather, to answer your question, respond to your comment, Don. I much rather have the A's in California than anywhere else. That's why when the Raiders were thinking about moving to LA, more specifically Carson, I was in much more support of that than say San Antonio or Las Vegas, because it's just geography is important in sports, and California and Las Vegas are very apart. So even though they're right next to each other, fan bases are apart. So I just don't really understand why the A's are doing this because of the marketing. I just don't, simply. But yeah, on the topic of WNBA, a lot of the Oakland City Council members are pushing for the WNBA to come to Oakland, and my response to that is like, okay, maybe if we didn't lose all of our teams, that could be in the discussion, but I just don't really understand why they're pushing for this when we're about to lose another team. I read a couple months ago where they would make the A's the Las Vegas Spades. Well, the thing is like, yeah, they could change their name to something that's Las Vegas oriented, but the A's brand actually does pretty. So the thing is like, I don't really understand why they would change their name or rebrand, because the A's have a very like iconic brand. Like people like the A's brand a lot. It's a very established brand. They do well with merchandise. That's one thing the A's actually do pretty well. So I just don't know why, they're trying to have the idea of that. But I guess if they change their name, that would save me some relief, I guess, because I'd be much happier with the A's, be changing their name. This is the same way with the Raiders. I wanted the Raiders to maybe even change their name if they moved to Vegas, but with the way the Raiders brand is, I just don't think they would ever do that because, yeah, I just don't think marketing wise that would be very intelligent because, brand is a huge thing in sports because, yeah, I merchandise is huge. Um, a lot of things are very important that aren't necessarily on the field, right? Because marketing, ticket sales, merchandise, all of that stuff plays a factor in it. Who are the ones buying the merchandise? Who are the ones going to games? That's the fans, right? And the fans want to keep the A's in Oakland. I've said this multiple times on the stream already. I've heard nothing in support of, um, move the A's to Las Vegas or anything like that. Um, do you think the A's will get Trevor Story? I've heard a lot about it. I haven't done too much research into it. I think there's a chance, but I just don't know who we give up. That's the thing, and yeah, I would never want the Raiders to change their name. But one idea that was being thrown around is that they could like keep the name in Oakland, kind of like how if you guys are hockey fans, the Hartford Whalers moved to Carolina, kept the name but occasionally wear Hartford Whalers jerseys. It's the same way because I think the Raiders brand is so iconic they would just never do that. But I don't know. I think it would be cool to have a team name kept in one city, kind of like you know a lot of the Browns kind of did that, even though they got a new team when the Browns moved to Baltimore. So I think it's kind of important that teams have an identity in a city. With the Raiders, no matter what city they're going to, they're going to have an important brand, right? So I just don't see that as an option ever. Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna go over some of these. Yeah, I saw the Jock Peterson trade. That was pretty interesting. I actually didn't expect that. Um, I mean, I'm not a huge follower of the National League, what's going on there, but pretty good trade, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, what do you guys think? If the A's move and you're an A's fan, are you going to still be a fan of them if they move? Even though I think it's not highly unlikely that they move, but I think it's, I don't think we could jump to conclusions quite yet because, there's just so much more going on. We have a week, almost, well, close to a week. We have about 5 days until it's all decided. Even though, I think even if the vote goes the A's way, I don't think it's necessarily set in stone because if the A's get the vote, um, they still could move, right? So, yeah, I heard about some Cubs fans that were upset with Jock Peterson leaving, even though he wasn't there for too long, but he was a pretty good player. So, he's a pretty good guy. But if the vote doesn't go our way, they're moving. That's the way it is now. It's an ultimatum. So if the vote doesn't go our way, then they're not staying in Oakland because that's why you're hearing the saying Howard Terminal or bust because of how if the vote says no, then they're leaving. Um, yeah, exactly. No one is pushing for a WNBA team to come. That's the thing. So I don't really understand why they're pushing that so much and kind of, I it could be a bluff to make the A's want to stay, but I don't really understand that. But yeah, the thing with the vote is like if they vote no, the A's are moving, but if they vote yes, it's not necessarily they're staying. It's just one extra step in the direction because if they vote yes, the A's, there's so much stuff that could fall through. Like, for example, the Giants in the 90s were, elected to move to Tampa Bay. And they were like approved and everything. But, it didn't happen, obviously. So there's a lot of things that can happen. And, the stadium wouldn't be ready for a couple years. So we have all that time in between then. Yeah, I mean, I think individuals like you, Michael, probably would be excited for the A's to come, but I don't think there's a big support group in terms of people actually wanting and rallying the A's to come. A's fans are not very nomadic. I've said that before. Raider fans are. You know, you have Raider fans in Southern California, Northern California, Las Vegas, Mexico, Europe, everywhere. I mean, there's Raider fans in little pockets in the United States and honestly across the world. But with the A's, it's like being the small market team they are, and not being the best team in terms of World Series wins in the last some odd years. They don't really draw too well in terms of fan support outside of Oakland, right? Or even the East Bay, to be more specific, or even Northern California, because there's probably a decent sized A's fan base in, you know, be happy with the A's moving, but I don't think they're going to have as big of a support as they would in Oakland. And yeah, the Raiders, like you, to my point, right? Like Canada is saying, like they call themselves Raider Nation for a reason, the fan base, right? Because they're everywhere. The A's have fans in, Oakland and other areas surrounding Oakland. Yeah, I just don't think Las Vegas would have support like that for the A's. I think maybe the first 3 or so years, the A's maybe would do well in terms of ticket sales and stuff like that. But what happens when, like I said, there's a scenario where the A's are playing on the weekday, they're playing an interleague matchup that's really boring, and no one goes to it. That's somewhat what it is in Oakland right now, just because of the stadium. Will you go to Vegas for the Raiders game this year, or even LA? I was thinking about going to the Raiders Rams preseason game, but I actually have a A's game that day that I already got tickets for. I'm thinking maybe one Las Vegas game at some point for the Raiders. I haven't chosen which one yet. I can imagine the tickets are going to be crazy. But SoFi Stadium seems pretty cool as well. So I was thinking about checking out that maybe for Raiders Chargers or Raiders Rams. And also the Raiders are playing in Levi Stadium in the preseason, so I'm going to be going to that for the preseason. Um, yeah, I mean the gambling is like a big part of it, but I don't think you know you can have people gamble on sports all the time, right? But the thing is like you to have a diehard fan base in a city, you have to have people buying merchandise every day, going to games consistently, buying season tickets. Las Vegas, they can have people gamble, but I don't think they're going to have that. Yeah, I think it'll be exciting, even though the Raiders aren't in Oakland, to see a game at Allegiant. That's cool. You're going to Week 11 against the Bengals. Nice. Yeah, I want to go to one. It's just it's hard when games are on Sundays, and Sundays are not like the best game for stuff like that. Um, yeah, I don't think I think Las Vegas, it could be a moneymaker, but I don't think that it'll have good marketing. Um, yeah, it definitely is not suitable for an 82 game season or 81 actually, because and even playoffs too, because I mean the A's somehow, some way with the money they spend make the playoffs, because God knows why, right? They just do well. Yeah, I think it's just the way it is. I don't think Las Vegas is going to have good marketing for that. Um, yeah, CRB, what's up, man? Yeah, I think, yeah, I just don't think it's going to work. Three things unresolved. Yeah, that's pretty much it, JD. So the thing, I guess I can talk about these a little bit. Um, let's see. Yeah, so basically, the non-relocation agreement I think is a little bit of a joke, honestly. Like the fact that the A's are like, "Oh, we'll stay 10 years, oh no, 20 years, when we'll have this beautiful stadium," is ridiculous. The Giants will have an equally as nice stadium as the A's, likely, if Howard Terminal gets built, because it's just the same structure, and the Giants are willing to stay for 50 years. And so, yeah, the community benefit agreement is I believe that's the affordable housing and stuff, which is just kind of annoying that the A's aren't doing that. Yeah, I believe the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Red Sox, they're making it hard for a small market baseball team. I agree, man. Yeah, they are making it hard for teams like us. Like, it's inevitable because, well, actually, it's not inevitable. I mean, if the A's spent money like the Red Sox, like they could do, or the Dodgers, or the Yankees, like we have money. I mean, I don't think there's an owner in Major League Baseball that can't afford to spend $100 million a year on players. I think everyone could. I just don't think they want to. So yeah. So Isaac, I'm glad you actually brought. That's something I talk about all the time. People, in arguments, oh, well, the Golden Knights do well. How come how come the A's aren't suitable if they are? Well, here's a couple reasons. One, so the A's would have, I assume, a pretty massive stadium in Las Vegas, like compared to an arena. I mean, you can sell out every single game in Las Vegas at the Golden Knights. It's going to be 18,000 seats a year, which is not very impressive. The A's sell more tickets than that, right? 18,000 seats is what the Las Vegas Golden Knights hold. And yeah, you can sell that out every game, but end of the day, it's not really that much. Also, the Golden Knights have pretty good real estate. Like, they're right off the freeway, T-Mobile Arena. The A's would be in like a suburb in Henderson, right? So I don't think that would be good. And also, the Golden Knights have great marketing and they spend money on players. They've made the playoffs every year. They've been a team. And they're also an expansion team. I think expansion teams have a lot more popularity than established teams because, there's a lot more hype about it. Yeah, A's are still doing the Moneyball team. Moneyball scheme, sorry. The A's are still doing that, as the Rays are, as a couple teams are, because they feel the need to not spend money when it is absolutely necessary. Like right now, when the A's have a good core, but not a good pitching staff to make the playoffs, they could be spending money on players, but they're not doing that. And that's why the A's, finish second to the Astros every year in the division. That's why the A's lose in the wild card a lot. It's because they don't have the pieces to go to the World Series, and I don't think they're going to anytime soon. John Fisher either cleans up his act or sells the team. So we'll see. Yeah, exactly. The Golden Knights are very good. I think, and you can't compare MLB to NHL because NHL is a lot smaller than MLB. Yeah, I thought last year was the A's year to win a World Series. I thought it was. I was wrong because, we did decent in wild card. We won that. We went on to the Astros. I thought since the Astros had a losing record going into the playoffs, I thought we could beat the Astros. But the Astros just came out swinging. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think they will either. Yeah, the A's did spend money on the old days. Henderson, you're right. They did spend money back then. And what happened? They won World Series. The A's have won 4 World Series in Oakland, and all of those years, I mean, wasn't alive then, but I believe they spent money. Yeah. Yeah, Golden Kingdom, like it's the way that the A's are. I mean, I think the 2012 A's probably could have won a World Series had they kept that team together, right? Because what did they do when 2014 came around? Okay, they traded Cespedes. Donaldson was traded. Sonny Gray digressed and got worse, and got traded. So, all these guys, Jeff Samardzija, I could go on and on about all the Derek Norris, Brandon Moss, all these guys were gone. And I'm worried that's going to happen now because you have young stars, Olsen, Chapman, that have all-star experience and you're going to get recognition from teams like the Yankees, teams like the Red Sox, teams like the Dodgers that can offer them, 10 times the salary the A's are. The A's sometimes only spend or are willing to give a couple million to a superstar, right? So I think, look at Marcus Semien. He was a starter in the All-Star game, right? And the A's just had him. Liam Hendricks played in the All-Star game and he got the save. I mean, these are 2 A's players they produced. And why did they leave? Because the A's gave them ridiculously low contract offers. I believe Liam Hendricks, his contract offer was like really, really low. Yeah, Chapman and Olsen have become superstars. That's the problem. It's great for us, but it's the problem because now a team that needs a third baseman that's willing, or a first baseman that's willing to spend $20 million a year is just going to absolutely take them from the A's. What are the A's going to do when Olsen gets offered a $20 million contract from the Dodgers and they're only willing to pay him $2 million, right? What's up, Donovan Mitchell? Yeah, exactly. Eventually, we're not going to be able to afford them because that's just the way it works with the A's. I mean, there besides like maybe Jed Lowry, are there really players that we've been able to keep for a long time in the last 10 years or so? No. Yeah, exactly. We could have had all four All-Stars if we kept them. I agree. Um, I think we'll probably have Olsen and Chapman for the next couple of years, but I think the A's are going to be in a massive rebuild in a couple of years because Canna is probably going to be gone soon. I hate to say it. And, a lot of other things too. You're going to the game on Sunday. I think I'm going one of these days this weekend. I'm not sure. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like Marcus Semien goes to the Blue Jays, and granted, the Blue Jays aren't the biggest market team, and he becomes an all-star starter. The A's had so many all-star snubs. They do every year, right? Like, I think 2019 was a good year, but all these different years, the A's have all-star snubs because no one really cares about the A's in terms of voting for them in the All-Star game. Yeah, Canna has a lot more value. I remember when he was, not really high valued, and now he's a star. I mean, he hits leadoff for the A's, and like, trust me, the Dodgers are watching. They know, okay, Mark Canna, he's prime player material. So, unless MLB influences cap like the NBA and NFL, does their viewership? Yeah, I agree. I don't know if their viewership necessarily goes down because I don't think people really care enough to complain. Because who complains about the salary cap, right? Yankees don't complain about it. The Dodger fans don't complain about it because they are able to buy championships. But the people that are complaining about it are like you and me, A's fans, Rays fans, and there's not enough of us to really make a whine about it. So yeah, they do always get robbed, and sadly it's always their fault usually that they get robbed because the A's could be like the Yankees and Red Sox if had they invested more in their team, but they don't really do that much. The A's don't really invest, and I think my motto for sports is like I think investing is always the best idea. Investing in a city, investing in a stadium, investing in players are like the most important thing in winning championships and winning fans in everything when it comes to sports, right? But the A's don't do that. Yeah, Trinan was robbed in 2018, and look at him now. He's on the Dodgers, right, who are just fresh off a World Series team. And look at Liam Hendricks, who's on one of the hottest teams in baseball right now, the White Sox. Whenever a player leaves the A's, right, they do good. Semien, I mean, I could go on and on. Josh Donaldson, when he left the A's, he did amazing for the Blue Jays. I guess there's some circumstances, but I think it's not, happening. But I think whenever a superstar player for the A's, or even maybe close to a star, leaves the A's, they get really good. Or just even an average player. Look at Max Muncy, not the one the A's just drafted, but Max Muncy on the Dodgers. The A's got rid of him, and then look at him now. He is an all-star type player. And so whenever the A's just don't really invest in the team, they invest more in prospects and future stuff that never really turns out. Franklin Barreto, yeah, I'm glad you brought him up. I was happy when the Tommy La Stella trade happened. I was really happy because I knew La Stella was talented. I thought, La Stella could help us win a World Series. I felt like he was the dude in 2020 that where La Stella came up to bat. Every time he came up to bat, you had to believe La Stella was getting a hit, and he did. Every time La Stella came up to bat for the A's, he had a very good shot of getting a hit, right? And then what do the A's do? They just give him to the Bay Area neighbors, the Giants. So it just goes to my point that the A's don't really care about who they have. Yeah, exactly. La Stella, he's just a stud for the A's. And there are some examples of guys leaving the A's and not doing well. I mean, okay, I guess Chris Davis isn't a great example because he was failing in his last couple of years with the A's. But yeah, Stella has been hurt this year. I saw him at spring training. Yeah, the A's don't want to win a World Series. You're 100% right. The players and management probably do, but Fisher just knows that he'll probably make more money by not investing in one. Um, exactly. Yeah, it does go back to the 80s. Reggie Jackson, Ricky Henderson, two A's that went to the Yankees, at some point. There's a lot of other examples that are on the tip of my tongue right now, but a lot of A's players end up going to the Yankees or Dodgers. Jason Giambi, I mean, if you watch the movie Moneyball, you know about it. It's just not really a happy thing, and Jake Lamb. I almost forgot about him. I thought he was a legitimate temporary replacement for Chapman. Sucks we didn't end up keeping him, but I guess with Chapman back, is essential. Ricky, yeah, they were on the Angels. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think the way the salary cap is built in baseball, it'll probably won't change unless enough people rally behind it. And who's going to rally behind it when the teams at the top have like the biggest fan bases? The Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, they all know what they're doing because they're not going to complain about this stuff when they have the ability to sign big players. And it's honestly surprised me that the Yankees haven't won a World Series in 12 years. The Red Sox had a huge drought up until 2004, and the Dodgers had a 30-plus year drought because they all spend money. I just don't understand why they have droughts. That's why I find it funny when big market teams lose in the first round of the playoffs or miss the playoffs because they sure as hell could make it all the way if they really spent time establishing players. And so the A's just goes to show how good their management, coaching. Bob Melvin, I think, is a good coach. So winning a World Series is extremely hard, and I get that. But the only way to do it is spending money on the players. Do you think we should have kept Grossman? I like Grossman, but the thing is like we have a lot of outfielders, right? We have Piscotty, we have Canna, we have Ramon Laureano. We got a bunch of outfielders, and there are only so many of them can play, right? I think Grossman was a great player, but I think he's doing good stuff in Detroit. I'm happy for him where he is right now. Seattle's a good one because a good example because they don't really spend money on players either. Look at their team, in the past 30 years. They had A-Rod, right? And then he leaves. They had Ichiro, who was kind of left and came back at certain points, but he did go to the Yankees at some point, so that just adds to my point. They had Ken Griffey Jr., who was very loyal, but he ended up leaving at a certain point because the point is like players cannot really stand small market, right? Because small market doesn't benefit anybody. It doesn't benefit the fans or the players. Whoa, hey, what's up, Bassett? How's it going, man? Let's see. It kind of sucks that Oakland is in California with all their high taxes. Okay, that's not the thing. Is like that's not even the problem. Like the high taxes actually is what helps pay for stadiums. I actually think that's kind of untrue. But I think taxes do benefit stadiums a lot, though. That's for sports. A's last 2 years lost in wild card. Yeah, I was at that wild card game in 2019. 2020 lost in ALDS. My point, exactly. They can't make it past the ALDS because, or obviously not even the ALCS because they don't spend money on players. I think the Tampa Bay Rays making the playoffs last year was a miracle because with the funds they have to make it to the Tampa Bay Rays making a World Series, I was surprised, but they just did so well. As much as I dislike John Fisher as a cheap owner, one thing you got to tip here. I agree with him, but the thing is, here's another rebuttal to that. I agree that he is good at picking people, but you know why he picks people? He doesn't want to do the job himself, right? You look at other owners, the owner of the Yankees, he does stuff, right? The A's owner, John Fisher, just picks guys like Cavill to do stuff for him, right? He's lazy. And I think owners need to be more involved because I think that's a problem with sports. Owners are business people, which I think is their job, but they don't invest in the team. Reason the Angels don't win is the pitching thing is a huge issue. Wild card's a nightmare. I agree. Look, man, I would love to see the A's in the ALCS right now. Yeah, well, the thing, Canna, is like if 2020 wasn't a COVID year, the A's wouldn't even be a wild card team because they made every team wild card team last year. I thought we could have won 2019 wild card. I knew the Rays were a good team, but I thought we had a chance. It was believe it was the most attended wild card game ever for baseball, at least. The thing with the A's is that we're always, we make it to the door. Yeah, exactly. We're good in the regular season, but in the playoffs, we choke. And honestly, I kind of understand why it happens because, you look at the A's playoff teams in the past couple of years, right? Don't get me wrong. I love Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, all these guys, even Marcus Semien when he was on the A's, but they were just too young. You need veteran presence. Look at the Dodgers team last year. They had a lot of veterans and young guys, and it really worked. And the Rays have a lot of young guys too. I'm not surprised with the Rays' success. Yeah, they do make good trades for prospects. The A's get prospects that are good and then trade them away. Yeah, I agree, Canada. They probably would have won the division last year. But fans would have booed them a lot. They'll never know what would have happened. Yeah, Minnesota in the playoffs is a nightmare. At least they have a nice stadium, though. I guess it's a trade-off. But I think the A's they'll get to the playoffs, and then their team is too young to win 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 7 or even 1 game to go on. And that's what I think. If let's say the A's make the World Series, I don't know if they'd be able to win it just because they're just so inconsistent, right? It's a big issue. And it all comes back to John Fisher's antics of not spending money on players. That is just so important and crucial that they do, and it doesn't happen. So let's see. I think the A's need to redo the scouting department. I agree. Their farm isn't really looking great, and it's a shame because the farm a couple years ago was great. The last decade or so of the A's farm system was great, but no one wants to play for the A's farm system, which all comes back to John Fisher. When you want to know why the A's don't. No one wants to play in the A's farm system. They don't. In 2020, they didn't even pay their minor leaguers, right? They didn't pay their minor leaguers. There's so many complaints. I've seen the food that the minor leaguers get in the A's system. It's horrible. It's because they don't spend money. So I don't blame those players for wanting to play in the Yankees. I would too if I was a player like that. Tomorrow we'll basically decide whether we stay or leave in Oakland. Yeah, pretty much. I think it won't necessarily decide it 100%, but I think 98% it will decide it because I think that 2% could be stuff in the next week. Making the ALCS would be great. I think that's a stretch for this year, but I would love that. Yeah, we did. That's how the A's go. We always have so many chances and we can't score. I was at that game and I was on the edge of my seat or standing the whole time because I was so nervous. The food. I saw that. That's the thing I saw, Canna. It was on Dave Cavill's Twitter, and it was just cheese sandwiches that looked like they were like 3 days old or something because they just don't spend money on players. And I just don't blame these players for not wanting to play with, the A's low ball system because it's just the way it is. Yeah. So JD, you brought up actually a good point. I completely agree with you. I think spending that money would be great, but I think the problem is you bring up a really, really good point. But the problem with that point is what's going to make them more money? A new stadium or players? I think that's a no-brainer. A new stadium is going to bring you more revenue than players. So the A's logic is, okay, we'll spend money on a new stadium, and then we'll make more money at a new stadium, and then we'll go from there. So I think if the A's get a new stadium, they'll probably spend more money on players, but we don't know when that could be 5-10 years down the road. A's making the ALCS would be like the Raiders making the playoffs. Yeah, it would be. Raiders just don't do anything right in terms of making the playoffs or winning playoff games for that matter. So I don't really approve of what they're doing there. I just don't like the system and how they do it because it's just not very smart. But yeah, JD, I just want to go back to your point. The 200 million, I think, was on renderings and stuff, and they're just trying to hype up people. And I think, I think it's hypocritical. I think it's a double standard because, hyping up people also goes with buying players, right? The Yankees get so much profit from having guys like Judge and Stanton, right? There's so many jerseys sold, and so many people wanting to go to games because of those players, but the A's just don't do that. Yeah, no players fired Gruden and Mayock. Yeah, I honestly would agree with that. I just don't think the Raiders are suitable for the playoffs yet, and I think a lot of that comes down to the coaching. The coaching is such a big issue because Derek Carr said it himself. A lot of the Raider games were decided by one play, right? The Raiders, I think, could have been 12-4 had they won some of these crucial games. Look at the Dolphins game, decided by one penalty. Look at the Chargers game. Look at the Chargers game we lost. Yeah. There's a lot of games the Raiders lost because of one play, and it was coaching. Save the trees. I believe the deal is done behind closed doors. Oakland rooted. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Do you think they're going to stay or leave? What about the Dubs? Oh, that's a good discussion. I think the Warriors. The Warriors, I think, are going to be good this year. I don't know if we're going to win the finals necessarily unless we trade or sign for a guy like Damian Lillard, because Damian Lillard actually has been talking to the Warriors. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of guys. Even Ben Simmons, I mean, yeah, you can make fun of him all you want for how bad of a shooter he is, but the Warriors are like the best shooting team in the league, so it doesn't matter. I don't like Mark Davis either. He's pretty bad. Yeah. The thing is that the city votes no on the ballpark project. How in the world they make the city better? That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, why can't they solve all the issues that is going on in Oakland and simultaneously build a stadium? Because the stadium will ultimately make this season a lot better. Yeah, I made a prediction video I think a couple months ago when the Raiders schedule came out, Canna, about what the Raiders record would be, and I think I said either 9-8 or 8-9. I think I said 9-8, but it honestly depends on who's good in our division. I've heard people saying the Chargers will be good. I've heard people saying the Broncos are going to be better. It really comes down to that. Yeah, but the Warriors weren't a good shooting team last year, but with Klay Thompson back, I mean, those two guys alone can make crazy amount of threes in a game. Are you a bigger A's or Raiders fan? I'm a bigger A's fan right now just because they're in Oakland. But when the Raiders were in Oakland, I was a bigger A's fan, I think. Or sorry, a bigger Raiders fan. C-Man, Whisper Slayer, I've talked about this a lot. I don't know if the QB is the problem. Derek Carr is never given a good offense. Well, I guess last year he had a good offensive line, but usually never given a good offensive line or defense. I think it's defense that we just need to stack up on. I think trade talks for QB, if the Raiders were somehow able to get a good deal, then yeah, maybe. I thought the Raiders were going to make the playoffs. I did too. They were 6-3 the last 2 years. I thought, oh yeah, 6-3 is a good record, but it's the coaching. Yeah, I really hope Klay doesn't get injured, man. I miss that guy so much. The last time he played was when the Warriors still played in Oakland. That's how long ago it was. Defense has always been the problem. It always has been. That's the big issue. It's just the Raiders don't really have – it's the West Coast offense mentality, but I just don't agree with it. For the Warriors, there's so many close games. Yeah, it's the same. It's almost like the Raiders because there's just a games the Warriors couldn't capitalize on against good teams too. But the Warriors were actually good this year. Like, they exceeded my expectations. Making the play-in was not the best outcome, but I don't know what's going to happen next year. Yeah, we did get a new defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley. I think he'll be an improvement. Who can replace Carr? Geez, man, I don't know. I mean, if maybe a rookie, I don't know. They could do kind of the Jimmy G situation where you draft a young QB and have the veteran train him and groom him and stuff. But I just don't really think Derek Carr is the problem. I think our defense will be in the top 20. Yeah, I think it'll be better. I don't think it'll be great. Do you think the A's are going to make the playoffs? Yeah, I think we'll make the wild card. No, we're not going to win the division. Um, yeah, I do remember when the Raiders almost lost to the Jets, and that we almost lost that game because of play calling. Um, Yeah, Whisper Slayer, you're right. He does like veteran QBs, but you got to remember Derek Carr is almost pretty much a veteran. I mean, he's been playing for a long time, and I just don't think Derek Carr is much worse than a guy that they're going to get. Now that being said, I would love to have a guy like Aaron Rodgers on the Raiders, but I don't know if he'll fit. I don't know how long he'd be on them because he's getting up there in age. So. Dubs got hot at the end of the year. Yeah, they did. They weren't good at the beginning of the year. They were terrible. I mean, Oubre sucked. Wiggins sucked at the beginning of the year. It was Curry and Draymond. Actually, Draymond was injured for a bit too, and Wiseman. But yeah, Carr is a Raider for life. I hope so, honestly. Are you going to have another live stream A's Talk Tuesday? Yeah, I probably will. I mean, I don't see why not. Yeah, I'll probably have another live stream on Tuesday. I really hope it all goes our way. Crossing my fingers. But yeah, I might do the stream on Wednesday because I have a job, so I might be able to do it that day after. Look at Rich Gannon and Gruden. I mean, yeah, Rich Gannon was good, but I mean, Rich Gannon is no Aaron Rodgers. But with that being said, I think Rich Gannon is closer to Derek Carr than you know Rich Gannon is to Aaron Rodgers. That's the thing, right? Derek Carr is not a bad QB. He is very dedicated to the Raiders. He's a very good quarterback. I just think he doesn't have the pieces. So, who was the first past Oakland team? The first. Well, I'll answer it both ways. I think it's being interpreted. The first past Oakland team to win a championship. I believe that would have been. I think that would have been the Raiders. I think no, the A's 72 World Series. I think I don't know. I'm not entirely sure of the order because the war. Yeah. That's it. So basically, the 70s were a great era. I wish I lived in the 70s sometimes. The A's won the World Series in 72. They won the World Series in 73, and they won the World Series in 74. Then the Warriors won the finals in 75, and then the Raiders won the Super Bowl in 76. So that's 5 years in a row where the Oakland teams have won a championship. 5 years in a row, 72, 73, 74, 75, and 76, because the Warriors, Raiders, and A's 3 in a row. Let's get back to these questions. Yeah, I saw the Cubs thing. That was interesting. Gannon and Rogers scrambled more like Carr. Yeah, but scrambling, I think look at Brady. He doesn't scramble. He's the greatest quarterback ever. Um, the other QB, Mariota. Yeah, I don't think he's better than Carr. I think he had one good game. We'll see. Yeah, 72, 73, 74. Yep, you're right. Yeah, the Titans did use Mariota bad. I think actually some years he was good on them. But yeah. Yeah, Oakland was so good back then. And they had a hockey team, the Oakland Seals, which I have a hat of over there. But Oakland in the 70s was the best era. The 80s was a great era too, although the Raiders moved. Because the Warriors were actually good in the 80s and 90s. They just weren't championship good. Yeah, I'm actually going to see Mariota against Trey Lance because they're playing the Niners in Santa Clara for the preseason. So I'm really hoping to see Trey Lance versus Mariota. That'd be awesome. Do you think Carr is the same situation as Cousins? I mean, it depends how you look at it. I think Carr has a slightly worse situation than Cousins because Cousins is, some more experience, like going farther to the playoffs than Carr has. And I really feel bad for Carr because if he doesn't get injured in 2016, I think, they could go maybe even to the AFC Championship, maybe Super Bowl. Warriors, A's. Okay. I get it. Your question, Golden Kingdom. I think the next Oakland team or past Oakland team, like you said, to win a championship would probably be out of the three, probably the Warriors, just because the A's, like I said, don't spend money on players. The Raiders are a mess. The Warriors aren't great right now, but they're a lot better than the Raiders and the A's. So I think they have a decent chance going forward. Yeah, he did have a good game in Week 15. I'll give him that. That was a great game. I was hyped. I thought they would win, and I thought that'd be a miracle story if they somehow won, somehow made the playoffs. Mariota is leading the team through the playoffs. We go to the Super Bowl with Mariota. I thought I had this whole dream scenario picture in my head, but it didn't happen. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think the Dubs next year are definitely a contender. I've very very much been investing in the Warriors because they've been just a really good team in the front office. This is a little preview to the merch video, but yeah, I got this recently. It's a Warriors hat in Sharks colors, so this will be in the merch video. But I've been investing a lot in the Warriors because the A's I haven't been buying a lot of stuff lately. So yeah, I agree. Del Rio is better coach than Gruden, I think. I mean, I guess Gruden has more experience. Yeah, look at this hat. It's pretty fire. Might as well show both of them. I got a Raiders one too. So I got the Sharks colored Warriors and Raiders hats. Yeah, thank you. And then obviously the upside down logo one. So a lot of stuff, not cheap, but pretty decent stuff. But yeah, you guys should check out the merch video. It'll come out probably in the next couple of days. Just make sure to turn notifications on because, it'd be nicer to watch it earlier because it's about 30 minutes long. So, yeah, the video it's a long merch video. It's like it spans from, I think, a couple months ago. Let's see. So I started the merch video in May 1st, and I ended it Monday. So, yeah. No, I'm never going to be a Yankees, Cowboys, or Lakers fan because my philosophy, and I've said this in pretty much every single relocation video I've made. If you guys want to go check them out, I recommend you do so. If my logic is, and you don't have to agree with me, I'm probably not going to agree with you. If you have a team near you, right, you should support that team. Unless there's some sort of circumstance in which you can't. Like for me, like the Raiders aren't close to me anymore, right? But I still root for them because they were Oakland at one time. So that's kind of my stance on that. How did the Raiders lose to the Titans? You mean I think you mean the Texans in the wild card 2016. Well, they had a third string quarterback who had never played a game in his life in the NFL. He was Connor Cook. I don't even know. I think he's in the XFL now. Dude was an absolute joke in that game. The Texans had the best defense in the NFL that year. I mean, with Jadeveon Clowney, they had J.J. Watt. Obviously, they were a great team. So the Texans were actually a pretty good team that year. Brock Osweiler was never an elite quarterback, but he was good enough to beat a third string Raiders team. So yeah. I think, I might as well show some more stuff that's going to be in the video. So I got this vintage Warriors hat. Look at that with the Hardwood Classics patch on the side. It's like the We Believe era. That's my favorite era of Warriors uniforms, even though they're not my favorite. But yeah, I love the 2016 Raiders too, man. They were so good. They were just a lot better than they are now. I got this 2018 NBA Finals hat because I didn't have this one. And then I got this Seals hat a couple weeks ago as well. So that's that. 2017 was the year I became a diehard Raider fan. Yeah, man, I remember 2017. That was a down year for us, but, I've been a Raider fan consistently since like 2014. Like I've been going to games since 2014, but I've been a fan for a long time. Raiders are always the Seahawks rivals. Are they the Seahawks rivals? They play the Seahawks like once every 4 years, though, right? I don't really think the Seahawks are a big rival to the Raiders, but I mean, maybe West Coast type rival. I don't know. I think the rivals we got to worry about right now are the Chiefs because they're going to be good for like the next 10 years if Mahomes keeps playing like this. So, yeah. But yeah, I've been going to let's see. At this moment, who do you think will win the World Series? Jesus, probably, if I had to be honest with you, probably like the Astros or the Giants, just a team that's in first place right now because I don't see any of these teams slowing down. If they've been good, the way I think of it is if an MLB team has been good for half the year, they're probably going to be good for the second half. Let's see. Man, imagine if the Warriors, Klay Thompson, KD never got anger. And yeah, I know, man. I loved the Warriors nostalgic, team where they won just every single, year or got to the finals every single year. Like I'm still buying merchandise from that era, right? I just got this the other day, 2018 championship, because I'm just reminiscing of the fact that the Raiders were so good. The Warriors were so good with Kevin Durant, Draymond, all these guys. They were so good, and then it just fell apart. Yeah, 2016. Yeah, that was a good year. Giants in the playoffs. I'm going to try to go to a Giants playoff game, maybe two, honestly. I'd love to see a playoff game there. I thought we'd make the Super Bowl in 2017 too, but they just never recovered from the woes. Why are you not a Giants fan? That's actually a good question. Just never have been. I've been, an A's fan my entire life. They were just the team I chose to support. So yeah, I remember it was painful watching that. Yeah, that Colts game, dude. That was Christmas Eve of 2016. Yeah, Christmas Eve of 2016, and it was depressed. It was the worst Christmas Eve ever. Yeah, final battle of the Bay. That's cool. Yeah, Giants in the playoffs though. That's gonna be. I mean, even though I'm not a Giants fan, that's gonna be sick because I want to go to some games there. Because their stadium is awesome. Yeah, A's Giants World Series could be epic. I agree, man. People talk about that all the time, but it's likely not going to happen. I don't think the A's are going to make the World Series, unfortunately. Yeah, I remember that Colts game. I was watching it and I saw Derek Carr on the ground, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's probably fine. And he wasn't. Golden Kingdom, I'm glad you brought this up. So people ask me this literally all the time. I actually get asked this question all the time, like every single day. Like, what's your sports situation if the A's move? And I'm saying if because you said, Oakland, you kind of made it seem like they're all leaving. It's not going to necessarily happen. But if the A's move, right, like I've said like a couple minutes ago, why would I support a team I can never go to a game, right? Why would I support a team that doesn't play in the local area, right? So, yeah, to answer your question, I would be a San Francisco fan. I would switch 100% to San Francisco so I could go to games. And it's sad that it's that way, but that's just the way it would be. Because I know everyone's stance on it is different. I completely respect it if you're going to stick with the A's. I think you're very loyal, and kudos for you. But for me, I love going to games. I go to games. I try to go to games every single week, a couple times a month at least, and I wouldn't be able to do that anymore. So that's the thing I love doing most. I love going to games more than I love any other activity. So yeah. Seems like now is the most likely. Yeah, I think it is the most likely, but I still don't. I think 2014 was actually the most likely in the last decade or so. I watched almost every second of every Raider game last year. Yeah, I did too. I watched a lot of it. It was tough. Yeah, I missed the game. Yeah, I know. That Chiefs game was great when we beat them. Bassett, so what games do you plan on going to for the rest of the year? So the way I pick my A's games going to is kind of random. Like if it's a good matchup, I'll go. I want to go to a Cleveland Indians one because the Indians are changing their name. So I want to go to one like before they change their name so I can see them for one final time. I'm probably going to go to the first Sharks game of the season. I'm going to definitely go to the preseason Raiders-Niners game. But I don't necessarily know. I'm not too sure yet. How do you get the A's hat with the upside down logo? Yeah, I'm glad you asked this because I get asked this all the time. Because it's a pretty sick hat. eBay has it. Fanatics has it. Just look up upside down logo and then your team, and they probably have that. Fanatics definitely has it though. Yeah, but Bassett, to answer your question, A's games are probably gonna be random. I'm gonna probably try to go to a Battle of the Bay, A's Giants in Oakland. I'll probably play it by ear, honestly. The NFL is the most exciting, I think, because it's like one day a week where everyone watches, and it's just baseball is exciting, but it's like every single day, right? This coming Friday, A's. Oh, you mean tomorrow? Oh shoot, I have plans tomorrow, but I would, $8 tickets, I would not pass that up, because the A's do have really good ticket prices, but I mean that just goes to show the stadium is not really, the most appealing for people trying to spend money on tickets. So, yeah, I would go to an $8 game, but I have plans on Friday. Are you excited that NHL is back on ESPN? I mean, honestly, I think it's cool, but it doesn't really affect me. But I think it's cool. If you find out that this is the A's last year in Oakland, we still go watch them play? Yeah, I think you mean like, will you still watch them even if they announce the move? Yeah, I'm going to be an A's fan until they leave Oakland, right? It was the same way with the Raiders. If they go play in Las Vegas, I'm not a fan anymore. If they're in Oakland, I'm an A's fan. That's how it is. Yeah, exactly. College football is the same way, Bassett. It's a lot better than watching a game every day. I do love watching games every day, but I think it's really cool the aspect where they build it up the whole week. They have one Monday night game and one Thursday night game, and then all of it relies on Sunday. And the same with the Super Bowl. Instead of it being a 7-game series, it's one game. Yeah, I think the Sharks on ESPN will be interesting. Well, I mean, they're never like nationally televised, so I don't know how often we're going to see that. But yeah, I guess I'm kind of excited about it. I kind of heard about it late, so I wasn't a super big supporter of the NHL coming to ESPN. I didn't really care, but I think it'll be interesting either way. Yeah, score graphics are always interesting. If I was an A's fan, I would be mad. Oh no, I am mad. I might not be showing my anger right now. I'm super angry with the way that the A's are doing things and with the way Oakland are doing things, because it's easy to pick sides, right? Like you could say, okay, I hate the A's ownership because no, they won't do the affordable housing, or you could say, okay, I hate Oakland City Council because they're terrible with sports. But for me, I hate both sides because they just both don't do things right, and I am angry. I think I'm looking in the comments. A lot of us A's fans are, but it really just isn't. Old guy history. Only 2 times the World Series was postponed. Oh, time. Yeah, Hurricanes. Yeah. I remember hearing about that. Oh yeah, 23 homer. Yeah, they did the discount. That was pretty cool. Yeah, you're right, Golden Kingdom. And you also have to remember people go to college and they come back. There's alumni that's why you can sell out a 70,000 seat stadium in college football. That's just how big college is. Yeah, I think it probably will get more viewership. The A's record, let's see, do I know it off the top of my head? Is it 53-41? Let's see. AL West standings. 52-40. I was close. 52-40 is A's record. Which isn't good enough right now. To be, I mean, it's good for overall, but to beat out the Astros is not good right now. Even though 12 games over 500 is, I think, really good. But clearly isn't good enough. So to beat the Astros, because the Astros are just winning all the time. What's the big college in Oakland? Cal Berkeley, even though it's in Berkeley, it's right next to. They have a huge fan base. I love Cal games. Probably going to go to some. Cal, they have a great stadium. I think the Raiders, if they were allowed to, they should have moved there because Cal Berkeley is just awesome. Yeah, they are better than their record says. I agree with that. And we are a second half team. You look at the A's playoffs past couple of years, like you said, Canna, a lot of the time they do pick up momentum. They'll win like the last 5 games of the season and clinch the playoffs. That's how the A's are. Yeah, I agree. I I completely agree. I think they're losing to the Rangers is the most embarrassing thing ever. I went to an A's Rangers game a couple weeks ago and we just played terrible. So not something you want to do if you're the A's. But yeah. All right. I'm going to put a poll out real quick in the chat. All right, vote for this. I'm going to put some polls out. Let's see. Okay. How would I feel if the Sharks moved? Honestly, man, they're the only team in the Bay Area. So I think I would probably still be a fan of them if they moved. They're never going to move though. Because the Sharks, like for those of you that don't know, like San Jose was like iron fisted when they were trying to get the Sharks. Like they were like, we need this hockey team, right? Like they are never going to lose the Sharks unless that stadium somehow does terrible and can't be rebuilt. Yeah, it would depend on where they moved. Like I think if the Sharks were like if the Sharks had to move, right, it would be San Francisco probably. To Chase Center, or they would build it in a different part of San Jose. Maybe they build it in Santa Clara. It'd probably be next to the Niners Stadium if they rebuilt it, but it's never going to happen. Yeah. Hey, man, the Rangers, I mean, I'm not trying to be rough on them, but they're just not a team we should be losing to a lot, which we are. So, yeah. Let's see how the poll's going. Yeah, okay. Everyone would stay an A's fan. That's pretty loyal. You know, I disagree. I would not, but I respect if you do. I'm just the way I am. Yeah. Yeah, but I just the only team that I'm worried about moving is the A's right now. I'm not worried about the Sharks, and I'm not worried about the Warriors. They're not going anywhere. That's why I'm spending a lot of money on Warriors and Sharks merchandise right now, because they're not going anywhere, right? I've been putting a pause on A's and Raiders stuff because I hate to say it, but that's just the way I would not be a fan anymore. That's just the way it is. I don't want it to be like that, but that's just how life is. I want to be able to go to games, because going to games, I've said many times, is the most fun thing ever that I love doing. So I would not be able to do that anymore. But yeah, I think I'm going to go. We're closing in on an hour and a half. I think if you guys have any last comments or questions, go put them in the chat now, because I'm probably going to end this in the next 2 minutes or so. Probably at 8:20. Who's snoring? Yeah, I agree with you. Golden Kingdom. Oilers moving, I can imagine, was tough from Houston games. For Houston fans. But the thing is they rebranded, so I guess you could still say you're an Oilers fan, even though, because they, rebranded as the Titans. Going to games is the best for sure. Yes, it is. I completely agree, because it's just something about it that is completely different. Yeah. See you. I'll make a video on tomorrow's game. I'll probably have relocation videos up. Just got back into baseball this season. Yeah, I know it. Trust me, man. If you're, not super up to date with all the A's stuff, it's probably really hard, because, I have friends that have recently become A's fans, and they're now might move. Did that person ever elaborate on the A's and Oakland having a deal done? Well, I guess I don't know who that person is, but I can elaborate on it. I think they do have deals going on behind closed doors, because that's the way negotiating works. We play Cleveland tomorrow. Yep, that's gonna be a good series. Are you going to the Battle of the Bay games? Probably. Yeah, I go to them every year. I went to the one in SF about a month ago. No, a couple weeks ago. Let's see, Berkeley. It's at home, Chapman. It's at home. I'm gonna try to go to one. I don't know which one. I'll either be Friday, Saturday. I actually have plans on Friday, but it'll probably be Saturday or Sunday. So I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. Yeah, I hope they can work it out too, Juan. I would be heartbroken too. I was with the Raiders. I stuck with them. You can see all these hats I have. I stuck with them, right? Obviously, but I'm not. I don't like Las Vegas. I just never have, and I never will. I like the city's probably a great place. I've never been to the city. I just don't like their marketing. So, oh, it's on FS1. Okay, that's pretty cool. We don't really have A's games that are broadcasted like that. What's up, McCarr? Yeah, I think we'll probably win the series. Cleveland, they're not very good. I don't think. I don't really follow them or know too much about their team because they got rid of all their good players, but we'll see. Yeah, but I think I'm gonna end the stream in like 2 minutes. If you have any final questions or comments, just put them in the chat. I'll probably do a live stream next week on Wednesday, if I'm able to, because that ultimately could be a really important date. Yeah, I think we'll win the series 2-1 or a sweep. I think that's important. I'm just gonna check who the Astros are playing. Let's see. The Astros won that final game against the Yankees, and that was just not good. Let's see who the Astros playing. The Astros are playing, let's see, the White Sox. So maybe hopefully they'll be good. I don't know if you noticed, but there was a concert at Legion Stadium. Yeah, there was a mess getting out of there, and it doesn't help that it's super hot. It's not going to be good. Hopefully sweep. So if the A's move, are you going to be a Giants fan? Yes, I am going to be a Giants fan. Hate to admit it, but I will. Could you guys see the A's games on Dish? Oh, I don't have Dish. Hopefully the White Sox help us. Yeah, I think they could. I mean, they're a great team, even though the Astros kind of mopped the floor with them last time. Yeah. Anyways, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. So wait, you don't necessarily have to like Las Vegas, just like the A's. To call them Oakland A's. Yeah, but then we're lying to ourselves. You can say they're the Oakland A's, but they're not. But yeah, look, man, I've thought about that exact scenario, but the problem is, man, is like, could I go to games anymore? No. Can I go to Raiders games anymore? No. Niners and Giants are right here. They're right in my backyard. So I could, be a fan of a team that's local. Will you switch immediately? No, I'm going to switch when the A's physically leave Oakland. So if the vote says, okay, if the vote votes no and the A's say, okay, we're leaving Oakland in 2022, then I'll be a Giants fan in 2022. But I'll stop buying A's stuff. I'm not going to buy merchandise if the vote is no. But when the A's like literally physically don't play in Oakland anymore, that's when I'm going to not be a fan. Yeah, I feel bad ending the stream when there's 16 people in it. Yeah, Jonah, I hope they stay also. I think it's just the best thing for all parties. I think, it's better for the city, it's better for the team, it's better for the fans, it's better for everyone. It benefits everybody. So yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I mean, I guess if you guys want to put anything else, I'll stay for a minute. I think the A's, I hope they stay. I don't want to not be able to be a fan of them anymore. Even though, like McCarr said, I still could be a fan, but I wouldn't be able to go to games anymore, which would be the hardest thing ever for me, because I'm just a huge fan of going to games. That's just the way it is. I always have. I love going to games. I think we can all agree in this chat, games are like the most fun thing ever. And I wouldn't be able to do that anymore. Yeah, I think I'm going to end the stream now, guys. Be on the lookout for more videos and streams and stuff. But yeah, see you guys later. Peace out.